Hey guys, I am super excited to be doing the 90s tag today. So basically this is just a bunch of questions that are relevant to 90s kids. There's questions about like what my favorite Disney Channel original movie was. That was actually the first question. So I'm just excited to answer all of these for you guys and let you know what I thought about growing up in the 90s, basically. So the first question, again, is favorite Disney Channel original movie. I never really watched Disney Channel growing up because I didn't really get cable until I was a little bit older. So the only time I really had access to Disney or Nickelodeon for the most part was at friends' houses or if we rented DVDs or VHSs from the library. So I'm just gonna kind of list my favorite Disney movies in general of the time when I was still living in the 90s, but when I was around 5. I really enjoyed Cinderella. I really enjoyed, weirdly, Fox and the Hound. Now I think about it, oh my gosh, it was such a sad movie. I watched it more recently and holy moly, it's devastating. I also loved Bambi, which also really sad. I don't know what my 5-year-old brain was. I was like a 5-year-old masochist who just loved being sad. I don't know. I also loved Little Mermaid, and when Little Mermaid 2 came out, I weirdly loved that one too. Not a lot of people have seen that one. Melody is like the most overlooked, technically, like canon Disney princess ever. My favorite music artist of the time. Well, I think Carrie Underwood was after this, but I loved Carrie Underwood growing up. But I think the earliest band that I can remember loving was Backstreet Boys. Loved the Backstreet Boys. I don't know if I ever really listened to their music or if I more just fawned over the poster that I had in my clubhouse. But I loved Nick. He was my boyfriend. My favorite Nick Jr. show. Again, didn't really have cable, but I watched it like on VHS from the library or Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster? Good times. I loved Dora the Explorer and Blue's Clues. I think those were both Nick Jr. shows, right? I also love SpongeBob. I don't think that was Nick Jr. I think that was just Nickelodeon, but I loved SpongeBob too. Although I wasn't allowed to watch that until I was, I want to say like 7 or so. Favorite candy, favorite 90s candy specifically, I loved Baby Bottle Pops and I loved, you know, like Push Pops. I also loved, I don't know if these were like widespread because I never hear anybody talking about these, but I loved, they were like in a little paint can. And it was like a powder and then it had a little paintbrush for like a sucker and then you dipped it in and then you painted your tongue. Also loved Fun Dips. Still love Fun Dips. You can still find those, like especially like for Valentine's. They have like Fun Dip Valentine's. I love Fun Dips. I'm a weird person, I know. Favorite game. I loved Chutes and Ladders. That was like my favorite board game growing up. Chutes and Ladders was so much fun. And also I loved making those what are they called? The fortune tellers. I don't know if you can really consider that a game, but I loved playing with those. Those were a lot of fun. And if you had like an American Girl magazine, sometimes they would include like pre-made ones. So you just had to cut it up and then fold it. And then they were already like, they already had everything written in them and they were super pretty rather than just, you know, using like notebook paper. Favorite McDonald's toy. Okay, from what I can remember, I have a couple. One was not really a toy, but it was like this Barbie pink fuzzy picture frame. And I think I still have it today. I don't know where it's at. I'm pretty sure it's in like a box packed up right now. I also had, you know how they did those like Polly Pocket kind of rip-off toys for a while? I had one that came with a jet ski. And I hardly ever played with the actual Polly Pocket that it came with because her body was like made to go on the jet ski. So her arms were like this and her legs were all funky. But I played with that jet ski all the time because I played with Polly Pockets all the time. So I put them on the jet ski. Favorite book. Okay, I have a couple. I loved Berenstain Bears. One of my favorites was Spooky Old Tree. That was the first book that I ever learned how to read. A little bit later, I loved Babysitter's Club. My mom would read the Little House on the Prairie series with me, so even when I was pretty little, I want to say like 4 or 5. Favorite clothing store? When I was little, I didn't wear, like, I mean, I wore clothes, but like I didn't care about what clothes I wore. I remember shopping at JCPenney a lot. I never went to like, it's now Justice, I think, but it used to be like Libby Lou. I never shopped there. Like, I don't even remember once going in there. What would you watch when you got home from school? We basically just had PBS, you know, like Arthur and Sesame Street, Barney, Teletubbies. I watched all of those. I don't remember if I really watched them when I got home from school necessarily, but those were the shows that I mainly watched. And when I got a little bit older, I loved, what's it called? The one with the motherboard, Cyber Chase. I loved Cyber Chase. Favorite TV show? Again, the ones I just listed. Favorite toys? Well, like I said, I loved Polly Pockets. I loved Barbies. And I know that there's all this like huge controversy about how Barbies were like bad for little kids' self-esteem and everything, but you know, when I played with them, I didn't think about how they were the perfect image of a human body, which they're not. They're very unrealistic. If you've seen an actual person-sized Barbie blown up to the size of a real person, they look super creepy. But I loved Barbies. I loved dressing them up, and I had a really cool, huge 2-story, 3 rooms on each story Barbie house that I used for them, and that was my favorite thing to do. My cousin and I, when we were little, that was all we did together. We played with Barbies. I also loved playing kitchen. I also remember that I loved playing with dolls and stuffed animals, and when I got in trouble when I was little, my grounding was they would put some of my stuffed animals and dolls up on top of the refrigerator, and I couldn't get in the back for, you know, like a day or whatever the time limit was. Favorite commercials? The only things I can remember really are ones that were on Nickelodeon. I really wanted to be part of like the Nickelodeon club. I can't remember what it was. I also really liked these ones for the foam or whatever, where it's like a Play-Doh-y foam. Those were always fun. I always wanted to try those. And when I got a little bit older, there was this commercial for pancake puffs, which sounds super weird. This was probably in like 2005, so I know it's kind of an honorable mention, but it had like it was like a waffle maker, but it made spherical pancakes, and it was the coolest thing ever. I wanted one so bad, and like I went back and watched the commercial more recently within the past like month or two, and it still looks amazing. But I think they still sell them too. I think you can get them from like Amazon, but you can put like pizzas or little brownies or cake or pancakes, and oh my gosh, it was the coolest thing ever. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? Backstreet Boys. Weirdest fashion trend? Well, okay, so if I like look back on shows from like the 90s, because I don't really remember a lot of the clothes, they had a lot of the weird like little tiny ponytails, like Hilary Duff wore those a lot. Things that I remember wearing that like I looked back in pictures for myself, I wore a lot of like teal and purple windbreakers as a kid. A lot of stuff like that. It's so reminiscent of the 90s, and I think that's a really weird one, just those windbreakers in general and purple and teal in general. And also I wore a lot of like crew neck sweatshirts with like multicolored leggings as a little kid. I remember specifically there's multiple pictures where I have that kind of outfit. Favorite collectible? Well, I mean, like I collected shells and rocks, and I don't really do that anymore, but I still have the collection I think somewhere, but I don't actually, you know, actively collect them anymore. Favorite Beanie Baby? Oh my gosh, I loved Beanie Babies. My favorite one, I had 2 that I loved to death. One was, I want to say Dottie, it was a Dalmatian, and one was another dog that was like brown and white and black, and its name was Bruno, and I actually named my first dog when I was 5 after that Beanie Baby. How many Tamagotchis did you go through? That is actually a trend that completely skipped me by. I never had a Tamagotchi. I think like the closest thing I had to that was like a hit clip. Favorite game system and game? It was one of the Nintendo games, but it had Duck Hunt. It was super cool because it had, you know, like the little gun where you can shoot the ducks, and you could just point it at the TV where the ducks were and it shot them, and I don't understand how the technology was capable of that at the time, because like I get it now with like the Wii, it has like a little sensor and everything, but that's so cool. That was the coolest thing, and I would just play that forever. There was also one where it had like a mat and you run on it, and like you could do like long jump and stuff. That one was a lot of fun too. When I got a little bit older, I loved just the regular Xbox, and I played SSX on tour and Jet Set Radio Future all the time. That is it, I guess, for this tag, which makes me really sad. I want to keep answering questions about this. If there are other similar questions that you guys have for me, let me know down in the comments, because I want to answer more questions. But if you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, then I tag all of you guys to do this as well, especially if you're, you know, a 90s kid. My social media will be linked down in the description below. But that is it for me today, so until next time, I will see you very soon. Bye guys.